I never once through this whole journey said, God, why me? Because I would have to say, God, why you?
At 58, Deion Sanders has lived through a childhood in poverty, a 1997 suicide attempt, 2 divorces, toe amputations, bladder cancer, and the death of his own quarterback in March 2026. The tragedy of Deion Sanders is beyond heartbreaking, and it all traces back to a childhood apartment in Fort Myers, Florida. The price of being prime time. Deion Lewin Sanders was born on August 9, 1967 in Fort Myers, Florida. His mother, Connie Knight, was a hospital custodian. His biological father, Mim Sanders, had a drug addiction. They split when Deion was 2 years old. He grew up in the Jones Walker Apartments, a place the research describes as infested with roaches and rats. He was a latchkey kid from kindergarten. His mother worked multiple jobs to keep the lights on. He would wake up, find the house key on his clothes, dress himself, pour his own cereal, and walk to school alone. At 7 years old, he made a promise to his mother. He told her she would never have to work another day in her life. He kept that promise. He became prime time. He won 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers and the Cowboys. He played in a World Series with the Braves. He is the only athlete to have played in both a Super Bowl and a World Series. He entered the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011. But the money and the rings did not stop the losses from coming. His biological father died. His stepfather, Willie Knight, the man who raised him, died too. In a raw personal essay, Deion wrote that his stepfather, his brother, and his father all died before he ever told them he loved them. His mother, Connie, died of a brain tumor in 1993. In 1997, Deion was at the peak of his career. He had just won a Super Bowl. He had money, fame, and all the trophies, and he drove his black Mercedes off a cliff in Cincinnati because he could not take the pain of losing daily access to his children. The car dropped 30 to 40 feet. The car survived. He survived. He walked out of that wreck and dropped to his knees. His first marriage, to Carolyn Chambers, ended in 1998. His second marriage, to Pilar Bigger Sanders, ended in 2015 after a defamation lawsuit that awarded Deion a $2.2 million judgment. Pilar was jailed for contempt in 2014 for violating custody orders. She was arrested in 2012 for allegedly attacking him in front of their children. Then the body started to break down. In 2021, Deion developed massive blood clots in his left leg while coaching at Jackson State. Compartment syndrome set in. He spent close to 30 days in the hospital. He lost between 30 and 40 pounds. He underwent multiple surgeries. 2 of his toes had to be amputated due to necrosis. Surgeons discussed amputating his leg below the knee. In 2023, he had more leg clot surgeries. In 2025, during a TCU game, the clots made it so painful for him to stand that he had to take pain-killing shots just to finish coaching. Then the routine vascular scan came back with something no one expected. The scan uncovered bladder cancer, a high-grade malignant tumor. In May 2025, surgeons performed a radical cystectomy. They removed his entire bladder. They built him a new one from his own small intestine. It was his 14th surgery. He announced he was cancer-free in a July 2025 press conference. He had dropped 25 pounds during recovery. He was relearning how to use his body. Then, on March 1st, 2026, Deion lost a son he had not birthed. Dominic Ponder, his 23-year-old sophomore quarterback, died in a single-car crash near Boulder the day before spring workouts were set to begin. Deion delivered a eulogy at the campus memorial and choked up in front of Ponder's parents. 3 weeks before the April 2026 spring game, Deion went under the knife for another blood clot procedure. He returned to the sideline anyway. This is the tragedy of Deion Sanders at 58, a life held together by faith, surgery, and a promise he made to a tired mother in a Florida apartment. In order to understand how one man ended up carrying this much pain, we need to take a look at where it all began. A 7-year-old boy, a house key, and a mother who never stopped working. Poverty. The Jones Walker Apartments in Fort Myers were the first battleground of Deion Sanders' life. Roaches skittered across the floor. Rats lived in the walls. The neighborhood was high crime, with street temptations waiting for a boy with an absent father and an exhausted mother. Deion was only 7 years old when he had his first brush with the police, caught throwing rocks, the kind of petty early trouble that can quickly escalate into something much worse in a zip code like his. But inside that apartment, something else was happening. Connie Knight, his mother, was waging a quiet war against the odds. A hospital custodian earning poverty wages, she worked multiple grueling jobs to keep her son fed and clothed. stacking back-to-back shifts that left her hollow-eyed and slumped over her pots when she finally came home at night. Little Deion would watch her cook with the weight of 2 jobs still on her shoulders, and something hardened inside his chest. This woman was breaking her own body so that he could eat, and he hated it. He was a latchkey kid from kindergarten onward, and the research paints the picture with painful clarity. He would wake up in an empty house. On his bed, his clothes would already be laid out, the house key carefully placed on top. Mama had left for work before the sun came up. He would dress himself, pour his own cereal, lock the door behind him, and walk to school alone at 5, 6, 7 years old. After school, he came home to the same empty apartment, sat in the quiet, and waited for the headlights of a woman too tired to even sit down. It was in that exhaustion-soaked kitchen that 7-year-old Deion made the most famous promise of his entire life. Looking up at his bone-tired mother in their apartment on Hennessy Street, he vowed that he would rescue her.
When I was 7, I said, Mama, I'm gonna be rich one day. On 1625 Hennessy, I said, I'm gonna make a lot of money. And you're never gonna have to work another day of your life.
That promise became the architecture of his entire existence. Every route he ran as a cornerback, every punt he took back to the house, every checkbook he ever signed had the voice of that 7-year-old underneath it. He was not just playing football, he was liberating his mother. His biological father, Mims Sanders, was what the Temptations once called a rolling stone. According to the research, Mims was swallowed by drug addiction. He was there, but never really there. Present in body, absent in every way that mattered to a boy who needed a father. Deion watched what substance abuse did to his father and made another silent vow as a child. He would never touch drugs or alcohol, not once, and he has kept that vow for over half a century. Into that void stepped Willie J. Knight, his stepfather. Willie became the steady male figure in Deion's young life, a hard-working man Deion came to idolize. But Willie had his own demons. He battled alcoholism, adding another painful layer to Deion's early understanding that the men who loved him were often fighting wars inside themselves that they could not win. The losses, when they came in waves. In 1993, just as Deion was cementing himself as one of the greatest defensive backs in NFL history, his mother Connie died of a brain tumor. The woman he had spent his entire life trying to rescue slipped away from him. He had kept part of his promise. By then, he had already signed his rookie contract with the Atlanta Falcons and bought her the $1 million mansion she had designed herself, a house where no roach would ever dare to set foot. They had fumigated the old apartment, stayed with his grandmother for a stretch, and walked out of that Fort Myers nightmare forever. But Connie never got to grow old in that mansion. His stepfather Willie passed later. According to a painful admission Deion has made publicly, he never said the 3 words that now haunt him. Not to Willie, not to his father, not to his brother. All 3 men died without ever hearing Deion tell them he loved them. He has called it one of the regrets that still wakes him up at night. Willie's dying wish, according to the research, was that Deion take care of Mama. It became yet another promise layered on top of the first one, another weight on the shoulders of a man who had already been carrying his mother since he was 7 years old. This is the emotional foundation on which Primetime was built. A single mother grinding herself to dust, a father lost to addiction, a stepfather lost to drink, a brother gone too soon, and a little boy in a roach-infested apartment who grew up believing that the only way to make the pain stop was to be the fastest, flashiest, richest man in America. But the money did not stop the pain. It only gave the pain better lighting. In order to understand how a 2-time Super Bowl champion with a World Series ring and millions in the bank ended up driving his car off a cliff in Cincinnati, we need to take a look at the night Deion Sanders tried to end his own life, and the 2 marriages that nearly destroyed him. The cliff and 2 marriages. By 1997, on paper, Deion Sanders had everything. He had already won a Super Bowl with the 49ers. He had just won another with the Cowboys. He had a World Series appearance with the Atlanta Braves on his resume. He was Neon Deion. He was prime time. He was arguably the most marketable athlete in America. He was also completely empty. His first marriage, to his college sweetheart Carolyn Chambers, was falling apart. They married in 1989. They had 2 children together, Deandra, born in 1992, and Deion Jr., born in 1993. The divorce meant Carolyn would get initial custody of the children. That meant Deion, the man who had spent his entire life trying to rebuild the family he never had, was about to lose daily access to his own kids, right as his career hit its absolute peak. The pain of that impending loss became a black hole inside of him. He got into his black Mercedes one day on a Cincinnati highway. He put on a Kirk Franklin gospel song called Conqueror, and he drove toward a cliff at high speed, fully intending to drive off of it and die.
And I was going down the highway, Cincinnati, and I was playing Kirk Franklin, Conqueror. Ironic. I'm about to off myself and I'm playing Conqueror. What kind of Conqueror are you punk?
That was the voice inside his head in that car, the self-contempt, the bitter irony of a man who had conquered everything on the football field being unable to conquer his own despair. He later wrote in his 1998 book that he was running on fumes, empty, with no peace and no joy. The car went off the cliff. The research says the drop was between 30 and 40 feet. By every law of physics and every probability of death, Deion Sanders should not have walked away from that wreck. But the car somehow survived the impact, and so did he, physically unscathed. He dropped to his knees in the dirt and surrendered. That moment became his spiritual conversion. The instant he says he was reborn into Christianity. The cliff became his altar. But the marriages, both of them, were far from over. The first divorce finalized in 1998. The second act of his romantic life was already waiting in the wings, and it would make the first one look almost peaceful by comparison. In 1999, Deion married actress and model Pilar Biggers. The wedding was in the Bahamas. The couple would eventually star in their own Oxygen reality show called Deion and Pilar Primetime Love, broadcasting their fairy tale into America's living rooms. They had 3 children together, Shiloh in 2000, Shadur in 2002, and Shalomi in 2003. That fairy tale curdled into a nightmare so public and so ugly that it still echoes through his family today. According to the research, Pilar later accused Deion of physical abuse. She claimed he choked her on the set of their reality show after she joked that she was funnier than him. Her words, as quoted in the research, "He leapt across the table and lifted me by my throat. I couldn't breathe." She also alleged that he had forged their prenuptial agreement. Deion fired back with a defamation lawsuit after Pilar posted accusations of child and spousal abuse on social media, allegedly including audio recordings of one of their daughters. The courtroom fireworks were spectacular and painfully public. Then came the physical altercations. In 2012, according to NBCDFW reporting, Pilar was arrested after allegedly attacking Deion in front of the children during a home fight. She reportedly needed elbow and thumb surgery following the incident. In 2014, Pilar was jailed for a week on contempt charges for violating custody orders, specifically for not returning the children on time and taking them on unauthorized trips. When the dust finally settled, the courtroom had spoken clearly. The prenup held up. Deion won primary custody of the sons, Shiloh and Shadur. Shalomi's custody was initially split, a decision Pilar publicly blasted. And in 2015, a judge handed Deion a $2.2 million judgment against Pilar for defamation, a sum that, after offsets, meant she effectively owed him about $1 million. Deion called it relief and vindication. The kids, of course, became collateral damage in the crossfire. Deion threw himself into coaching and mentoring his sons Shiloh and Shadur, sometimes blurring the line between father and coach in ways that are now on open display at Colorado. His relationship with his daughter Shalomi has been marked by the kind of hawk-eyed overprotectiveness common to fathers who have seen their wives in the worst moments of their lives. The tension has not fully dissolved. According to the research, in 2024, Deion refused to walk with Pilar during Shiloh and Shadur's Colorado senior day. Recent 2026 family milestones have still sparked awkward reunions and online buzz about unresolved wounds. Meanwhile, the TMZ archive is a graveyard of the public drama these two have left in their wake. 2 marriages, countless court dates, 1 suicide attempt, and 5 children who had to grow up watching their parents tear each other apart in public. But the emotional wounds were only one half of what was coming for Deion Sanders. The other half would come for his body itself. In order to understand how a man once known for blazing 4.2 speed ended up on a scooter with 2 missing toes and a bladder built from his own intestine, we need to take a look at the medical nightmare that has unfolded across the last 5 years of his life. The body breaks. The speed that made Deion Sanders a legend was always going to come back for its price. Prime time was built on 2 things, genetics and velocity. He ran a blazing 4.27-second 40-yard dash at the 1989 NFL Combine. He returned punts and kickoffs and interceptions with a breakaway gear that no one at his size could match. The body he used to build his empire, however, was also quietly carrying a time bomb. The research lays out the genetic piece clearly. Deion has a family history of clotting disorders. His mother had them. His uncle had them. Pile on top of that genetic load decades of high-impact football pounding, countless flights, and age-related vascular degeneration, and the ticking clock became impossible to ignore. That clock went off in 2021, shortly after he had taken the head coaching job at Jackson State. It started with his left leg. According to the detailed account from the Stop the Clot organization, massive blood clots formed in his left leg and triggered compartment syndrome, a catastrophic condition where pressure inside a muscle compartment builds up to the point where blood cannot flow. Tissue begins to die. If untreated, the limb is lost. Deion ended up in the hospital for between 23 and 30 days. He dropped somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds. He underwent multiple emergency surgeries in an attempt to save the leg. The leg itself was saved. 2 of his toes were not. In a gut-wrenching Anscape feature, Deion recounted the horror of waking up from surgery and looking down at his foot to discover that surgeons had amputated his big toe and his second toe because the tissue had turned necrotic. A below-knee amputation had been seriously discussed in the operating room and only narrowly averted. When the numbers are added up, the damage is staggering. ESPN has documented 14 to 16 plus surgeries, stents placed in his arteries, ongoing pain management, and the scooters, crutches, and compression socks that have become permanent fixtures of his sideline presence. In 2023, he had to go back under the knife for bilateral leg clot surgeries. He missed the Buffalo's media day. In 2025, during a TCU game, the pain returned with a vengeance. Standing on the sideline became agony. According to the research, Deion had to take pain-killing shots mid-game just to keep coaching. Afterward, he told reporters that the cat was out of the bag. He believed he had more blood clots, that he was hurting like crazy, that his leg was throbbing, that it did not make sense. In October 2025, he underwent an aspiration thrombectomy on his left popliteal and tibial arteries. His surgeon later admitted, according to the research, that he had genuinely feared Deion might lose the leg entirely this time. His reported words to Deion, "I was really worried about you, worried about losing a leg, but we got you out quick." That was the same leg that had already lost a big toe, a second toe, and part of its calf muscle. And then came the twist that no one saw coming. During routine vascular imaging in 2025, a CT scan he was only getting because of the clots, doctors spotted something that had nothing to do with his blood vessels: a high-grade, aggressive bladder tumor, malignant, the kind of cancer that kills people. In May 2025, Deion underwent a radical cystectomy. Surgeons removed his entire bladder. They then performed one of the most intricate operations in modern urology. They constructed a neobladder for him out of a segment of his own small intestine, a brand new bladder, stitched together from his own gut. He kept it secret from his own sons, Shadur and Shiloh, in the immediate aftermath. He did not want them distracted. He did not want them to worry. When he finally went public, it was at a July 2025 press conference alongside his medical team. He was cancer-free. He had dropped 25 pounds during recovery. He was managing incontinence as a side effect. So candidly, in fact, that he partnered with adult incontinence brand Depends to destigmatize the issue for men. The way he explained the whole ordeal was vintage Deion Sanders.
But this wasn't easy. Men, everybody, get checked out.
He was using his own diagnosis as a bullhorn, pleading with men watching at home to go see a doctor. He has been vocal about how his cancer was only discovered because he happened to already be on the operating table for his blood clots.
Because if it wasn't for me getting tested for something else, they wouldn't have stumbled up on this.
And the recovery has been brutal. He is relearning how to use his own body. He is managing the physical reality of life without his original bladder.
I'm thankful. It's been a tremendous journey. It's been tough. I think I dropped 25 pounds.
Through all of it, the amputations, the near leg loss, the secret cancer, Deion says he never once asked the question most of us would have screamed at the sky.
I never once through this whole journey said, "God, why me?" Because I would have to say, "God, why you?"
That refusal to ask, "Why me?" has kept him standing. But even a man of that faith can be knocked to his knees. And in March 2026, something came for Deion Sanders that no amount of surgery or scripture could prepare him for. In order to understand how the tragedy of his life continues to unfold in real time, we need to take a look at the day one of his own quarterbacks died, and the eulogy that left Coach Prime choking through tears in front of the entire football program. A quarterback's death. Dominic Ponder wore number 22 for the Colorado Buffaloes. He was 23 years old. He was a sophomore quarterback who had taken a long, winding path to Boulder. He had been redshirted at Bethune-Cookman before walking on at Colorado. He had just earned the right to wear number 7 heading into the 2026 spring practices. The research describes him as a young man known around the facility for his bright smile, his humor, and his work ethic. Deion would later call him one of his favorites. On March 1st, 2026, the day before Colorado's spring workouts were scheduled to begin, Ponder died in a single-car crash near Boulder. According to USA Today's coverage, his Tesla veered off the road, struck a guardrail and an electrical pole, and then plunged down an embankment. Authorities found no evidence of foul play. The Buffaloes walked into their first spring practice the next morning already grieving. Deion pulled the whole team into a room and tried to help them process what had just happened. And in the middle of it, he broke one of the oldest, quietest rules of football machismo. He told his men it was okay to cry.
Wonderful. God, have they been good. They have been so good and so mature, and it don't make you soft for a man to cry.
Mature and it don't make you soft for a man to cry. That single sentence was Deion giving his entire roster permission to feel the full weight of what they had just lost. A man in his late 50s, fresh off bladder cancer and another blood clot procedure, teaching a locker room of 20-year-olds that masculinity has room for grief. 6 days later, on March 7th, the Colorado program held a campus memorial for Ponder. It was live-streamed. His parents were there. His teammates were there. His sister was there. And Deion, who had buried so many people already in his life, stood up to deliver the eulogy. According to the research, he wrestled openly with the question every grieving person asks: why? He told the room that we only ever reach for God in our demise, that we only challenge the heavens when something has been taken from us. And then, according to Marca's full transcription of the tribute, he delivered the line that defined the entire memorial. He said God had whispered the answer to him. Dom was chosen, Deion said, to unite the Colorado program, chosen to bring them together, chosen to override all of the ethnicities and the social climates and the backgrounds and the ideologies that the young men on his roster carried into the building every day. Then he turned and spoke directly to Ponder's parents. He told them, according to the research, that their son had come to Boulder to evolve into a man, not to not make it back home. Former Colorado offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur, who was also present, said only 3 words. He was struggling with this. Ponder's sister, according to Fox News' reporting, said the one thing every grieving sibling says: this should have never happened. She honestly did not know what she was going to do without him. Yahoo Sports captured the scene of Deion getting choked up in front of the entire room. A GoFundMe created for funeral costs raised more than $14,000 in short order. Then Deion did something the football part of him had to do. He made a promise to his team and to Ponder's family that Dominique would not be forgotten on the field.
We're gonna have a patch on our jerseys for sure.
Every Colorado jersey this coming season will carry a patch honoring the quarterback. The visual commitment is only the start of it. Deion also revealed that number 7, the number Ponder had just earned, would be scattered across his roster as a tribute.
He was gonna wear 7 as well. So you may see a 7 here and there.
And then he said the thing that hit the hardest. He called Dominic my dude.
I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do. I may, take care of him every game because that was my dude.
That phrase, my dude, is how grown men who love other men talk in locker rooms. It is the language of family. Deion had lost a family member, and through it all, through the eulogy and the memorial and the grief, Deion Sanders kept coaching. At the April 11th, 2026 spring game press conference, he revealed that he had undergone yet another blood clot procedure just 3 weeks earlier. 3 weeks, and he was already back on the sideline running his program. According to Sports Illustrated's recap, he told reporters simply, "Yeah, I'm good. Everybody inside these doors can tell you, it's different when I'm here." The New York Post noted the same "I'm good" refrain. Reporters saw him walking Boulder, engaging at practices, rebuilding his staff, and refusing to even whisper the word retirement. CBS Sports has documented this renewed energy. Fox Sports has reported on his hunger to be even more hands-on going into the next season. At 58, Deion Sanders is cancer-free. He is managing a neobladder built from his own small intestine. He is walking on a leg with missing toes, missing calf muscle, and freshly cleared arteries. He is grieving a young quarterback he called his dude. He is still estranged in key ways from the mother of 3 of his children. He is a grandfather. He is entering year 4 at Colorado. The tragedy of Deion Sanders is beyond heartbreaking. It is also, somehow, still unfinished. The man who promised a little boy in a Florida apartment that his mother would never work another day in her life keeps standing back up. Surgery after surgery, loss after loss, season after season. Prime time, it turns out, was never about the speed or the interceptions or the rings. It was about what you do after the cliff, after the clots, after the cancer, and after the eulogy. He gets back on the sideline, he puts on the shades, and he coaches. If you enjoyed this video, click on any of the cards on your screen.